Welcome to Our Communiversity Today, sponsored by Pendleton Community Bank and Cucumber and Company, a community affairs program from West Virginia Institute of Technology in Beckley, hosted by Dr. T. Ramon Stuart, president of West Virginia University Institute of Technology, working to make a difference in Southern West Virginia. Guest opinions expressed on this program may not represent the opinions of West Virginia University Institute of Technology, Southern Communications, or its sponsors. And now, with today's program, here's Dr. Stewart.
Welcome to Our Communiversity Today. I'm Dr. Ramon Stuart, president of WVU Tech here in Beckley, and I'm thankful that you chose to be with us today as we explore Our Communiversity. As always, I remind you that I believe that the community is the university and the university is the community. And so with that in mind, we try to bring together guests that will allow us to see not only how we can integrate, but more importantly, how we can elevate Southern West Virginia. And today with us, we have a visionary entrepreneur who not only runs one of the most successful Mexican restaurants here in Southern West Virginia, but he has an eye for art, an eye for bringing opportunity and brightness and hope to Southern West Virginia. So today we have in studio Jose Rizzo with us, the owner of El Mariachi Mexican restaurant, but also a curator of art from America and beyond. So as we look at what Jose is doing and the different things, I always ask you to think simply, why not us and why not now? Which is always our goal on Our Communiversity Today, to answer those two questions. So right after this break, we'll be back with more Our Communiversity Today on News Talk WWNR.
Bank with purpose and Golden Bear pride. At Pendleton Community Bank, our WVU Tech Affinity debit card does more than make purchases. It makes a difference. Every swipe supports the William Bill Benn Student Success Fund, helping WVU Tech students facing financial hardships stay on track to achieve their dreams. Show your school spirit and help shape the future, one transaction at a time. Visit yourbank.bank to get started today. Pendleton Community Bank, here for students, here for community, here for you. Member FDIC, an equal housing lender.
There are so many ways to explore WVU Tech. Come tour our state-of-the-art facilities, meet our Dean of Students, and learn about student life, from clubs to mental health resources and student support services. See what living on campus is like and get financial aid advice. You'll see why being a Golden Bear is right for you. Visit wvutech.edu/admissions for all the ways to visit our campus.
We'll make you a brand new website. We'll make you an awesome website. We'll make you a better website and update it all year.
Cucumber and Company can make you a great website that we maintain, update, and host, all for just one low fee. Contact us today to find out why we're Santa's official website company. 304-250-0123. Online at cucumberandcompany.com.
We make really awesome websites, so call us today.
Welcome back to Our Communiversity Today. Again, we are visiting with Jose Rizzo, who is the owner of El Mariachi Mexican restaurant, and we're going to discuss the topic of art. And so many of you already are wondering, how is it that the owner of the Mexican restaurant here in Raleigh County, Beaver, West Virginia, is here to discuss art? But I think we need to first start with, Jose, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I was actually born in Mexico, obviously. I lived there till I was 6 years old, and then we immigrated to the LA area. So we lived in California for about 7 years. And, my dad did the typical, immigrant jobs, construction work, factory work, field work, picking strawberries. And some of his friends had started moving to the East Coast in the mid-'80s, maybe early '80s. And started doing well working in restaurants in Atlanta, Tennessee, some of the bigger, the mid to bigger cities in the East Coast. They had invited my dad to come out, probably I'd say in the late '80s, and we had all our family there, so Dad decided to stay there. Eventually, the struggle of living in an expensive area and not having the education to do well and provide for your family, Dad decided to come to Beckley, West Virginia in 1993, where some of his friends had opened up the Rio Grande here in Beckley. So Dad worked there for about a year, first washing dishes, then becoming a cook. And when they opened the restaurant in Oak Hill, they invited Dad to become a part owner. So only a year after he got here, he became a part owner. And that's kind of where I was 13, 14 at the time. That's kind of where our restaurant journey began. And I do get a lot of people that say, how'd you end up from California to West Virginia? But it was just simple as an opportunity. I think a lot of people.
And I think we need to go back. How do you end up from Mexico to LA to West Virginia?
Yeah, well, I think in these times, with the whole immigration thing, I think it's a natural progression, being neighbors, Mexico to California, to the United States, and especially California and some of the border towns. It's just natural to immigrate, and search for a better opportunity, We are only one of millions of people that did it, and Dad decided to make that trek, make that journey to provide a better opportunity for his kids, and then on top of that, a better opportunity. So I think the story of immigration or trying to better your family is as old as time. That's kind of how we got here. Just a chance to make it, and you make with that.
I think that's so valuable. Life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness. Immigrating to America for a better life, and coming in from humble beginnings. Whether you had to do strawberry picking to doing things, but ultimately your father just wanted to take care of his family. How does that make you feel? The sacrifices that your father made.
Well, obviously, I'm very proud to be an immigrant. I'm very proud to be a story of success per se. I became a citizen about 20 years ago. So I'm just one of many, many, many that are doing fantastic things, I think, in this country. And I think, in these times, I think the immigrant or somebody who looks different or somebody who speaks a different language is not looked upon as, almost as a human being, quite frankly. And I just kind of want to be that example. I actually know somebody who was illegal at one point. I know somebody who became a citizen. I know somebody who's doing something and giving back. So whenever, not to be too political, but whenever you think of an immigrant, I want people to think, I know somebody like that. And he's not a criminal. He's not, taking advantage of the system. So if you can believe what you hear, or you can look at an example of somebody, like, I don't know anybody. I personally don't know anybody who's a criminal. I don't know anybody who, does all these bad things that they say. I know hardworking people that came here, got an opportunity, and made the best of it, and are contributing and giving back.
Yeah, I as you said, not to be too political or anything. I think one of the big things when I started my career off in the professoriate, I used to teach this critical thinking class, and when I taught critical thinking class, and really as a computer engineer, I would try to get people to think about logic. We do a lot of programming based on logic, if, then, else, or whatever. But I used to always pose this question: does the media report on the usual or the unusual?
Right.
And what happens is the majority of people would get it wrong. They would say the media reports on the usual.
Mm-hmm.
Well, no, they'll never come and talk about us being in studio and having a good time and the positivity. But if either one of us actually goes through and does something like use a firearm or rob something or whatever, we will make it to the news.
Yeah.
And so I think it's so important for individuals like you to show people better than they can be told, because you're a walking example of how your family did it the way that it was supposed to be done, and you are doing things the way. And I think that's the big thing, your success.
Yep.
As I was looking into your eyes, and I saw you kind of get emotional about thinking about your father's contributions, but then that leads to your success. Exactly. And so with 1993 or whatever, tell us about that journey to this point where you feel like you're progressing and being successful.
Well, like I mentioned, all you need is an opportunity, and I feel like people that sacrifice a lot, leaving your home country, leaving your home, your new adopted country, where are your
culture,
exactly. I think just taking advantage of an opportunity is the main thing. Whenever you sacrifice a lot, you're gonna appreciate opportunities more, and you're going to take advantage of those opportunities. So that's why I feel that people that are here from other countries, they're not here to mess around. They're not here to waste time. They're not here to waste anybody's time. They're here for an opportunity. And when you're given a chance, I think you can do a lot with it, and especially if you come from another country, because you can go back home and goof around. You come here for a chance at that American dream, and I think 90% of the people do something positive out of it.
Yeah, and that's excellent. Just opportunity, not a handout, but simply a hand up, being able to take care of your family. And so El Mariachi, obviously, and I just got to be honest with our listeners, my family's favorite restaurant.
Thank you.
From the time we walk into the door, whether it's you or my daughter's favorite, Chris. I mean, I don't even have to do an order when my wife pulls up and you all see her car at the front, her order is put in. Exactly. And so you guys really, really do something that I appreciate is I think you meet people where they are and help them go places they never dreamed of going. So how were you able to build that culture at your restaurant?
So I've been involved in the restaurant business. This is pretty much all I've ever done. When I was 13, 14 years old, washing dishes, cooking, being a server. So I've had the opportunity to learn every angle of the restaurant. And quite frankly, when it boils down to it, the restaurant business, a restaurant is basically a social thing. You're feeding people, you're taking care of people. But once you make those connections and once you make those friendships, it becomes almost like a social interaction rather than a job. So I think treating a restaurant, treating the hospitality business as a friendship with your guests, I think is kind of what's important. And I think that's one thing that I stress upon my guys. Like, the people that walk in the door are friends. You want to treat them well every time. And no matter what happens, we need to make sure that when people leave, they leave happy. They came here for a birthday party. They're celebrating important events at our place. So it's an honor and it's a responsibility that we have to make sure that they have a great experience.
You all have that old school Cheers type effect. Sometimes you want to go where everybody knows your name, where they're always glad you came. You want to go where people know troubles are all the same. You want to go where everybody knows your name. And so I think that's so important, that atmosphere that you have and everything. And El Mariachi has been a successful Mexican food restaurant here in Southern West Virginia, but you're so much more than the owner or entrepreneur in terms of fine Mexican cuisine and everything. You are a lover and curator of art. How did you get into that?
Well, I've always loved art. As a matter of fact, whenever I was 11, 12 years old, my first dream was to be an animator. Me and my friend would sit around and draw cartoon characters, comic book strips. So my first profession that I ever wanted to be was in any kind of animation, illustration, comic book field. That was, when I was, 12, 13. Once we moved here and kind of like the real world set in, and I saw an opportunity to become a server and make good money and become an owner, and I knew that those options were available. I think the art kind of took a back seat for a while, but I've always been an admirer of art. So I think at the back of my mind, I always kind of wanted to do something in art. My friend that used to draw with me, he chose a career of tattooing. He has a fantastic tattoo shop in California. So he kind of went that route, and he's living his dream, making a living out of art, and he's fantastic. And now life has kind of brought me to where I can collect art, study art, visit museums all over the country. So I'm just kind of really passionate about anything that has to do with art. And once you start collecting, whether it's guns or not, it gets addictive. So I guess I'm kind of an addict. And I just enjoy the hunt. I enjoy learning about artists, learning about different schools, different types of art. And
well, I love that. I tell you what, I want to delve more into the art side of you. But ladies and gentlemen, again in studio with us, Jose Rizzo. Well, we're going to take a short break, so stay tuned to News Talk WWNR for more Our Communiversity Today.
Bank with Purpose, and Golden Bear Pride. At Pendleton Community Bank, our WVU Tech Affinity debit card does more than make purchases. It makes a difference. Every swipe supports the William Bill Benn Student Success Fund, helping WVU Tech students facing financial hardships stay on track to achieve their dreams. Show your school spirit and help shape the future, one transaction at a time. Visit yourbank.bank to get started today. Pendleton Community Bank, here for students, here for community, here for you. Member FDIC, an equal housing lender.
We'll make you a brand new website. We'll make you an awesome website. We'll make you a better website and update it all year.
Cucumber and Company can make you a great website that we maintain, update, and host, all for just one low fee. Contact us today to find out why we're Santa's official website company. 304-250-0123. Online at cucumberandcompany.com.
We make really awesome websites, so call us today.
Looking for the best college decision in West Virginia? WVU Tech has just been ranked the top school in the state and is the college with the best return on investment. Our 6 ABET accredited engineering programs and nursing program are ranked in the top 100 in the nation. When you become a Golden Bear, you're choosing a top quality education that will pay off. Discover more at wvutech.edu today.
Welcome back to Our Communiversity Today. Again, we're visiting with Jose Rizzo. Many of you know him as the owner of El Mariachi Mexican restaurant, but he is also quite the collector of art, a curator of art. And so with that being said, we were talking right before break about your love for art and how you got exposed to it as a child, wanting to be an animator, your friend becoming a tattoo artist. So tell me how over the years you've honed and developed your love for art.
Yeah, so I travel all over the country to go to museum exhibits, and I just enjoy visually seeing shows of artists that I like, and so just the collecting became another arm of it, and then actually now, of course, showing the art. It got to the point where I had to travel, to Charlotte, to Columbus, to Dayton, to go to art shows. So once I kind of amassed this collection, I thought, why not start showing my art? Give people, I'm not gonna say that my art is, as great as some museums. Some of it is, honestly, but I think it's pretty fantastic. So I just kind of want to do with my shows is to show people a curatorial example and educate people on certain kinds of art instead of them having to go out of town. So I want to keep people in here. I want to bring the art to them.
Well, I think that's interesting because as you look at trends in education, both in K-12 and also in my realm in higher education, you see many examples of people divesting in the arts, people divesting in the humanities. What do you think about when you hear that occurring?
Well, as far as that, it's I think art is important. I think being able to visually see art and to go to museums and learn about it and actually learn about art is shown through our movies, through our shows, and it's pretty neat to actually be able to go to an exhibit and actually see the art that you've heard about. So I just think it's important to to be able to bring it here and show people without them having to travel elsewhere.
Yeah, I think about it, and again, digressing back to when you were 11, 12, 13, and you started to have the eye for art and everything, it helps you dream. Mm-hmm. It helps you envision, but, unfortunately, not everybody dreams, and so, or understands how limitless a dream can be. So I love that particular aspect, but you also talked about you see art in movies and stuff. Well, the perception is from movies that, you'll see art and there'll be a art heist or something like that, and so much different, the cost of it. Is it that cost prohibitive?
Not really. Me and my friend run an Instagram page and we showed pieces from our collection. Man, I tell you what, there's so many different auction sites, even on eBay. It's actually not that unattainable. And there's all kinds of different ranges. And I think one of the things that I enjoy doing is actually doing the research on certain schools and then seeing a piece of art come up for auction and it be affordable. And I think the people know that this artist was affiliated with another artist or with a certain school. So I think the thought of getting a good deal or winning a bid is also kind of addicting. But you mentioned dream, and I think it's important to state that, I love doing my shows and I love showing the community art and putting on an event. So I think it's important for people that are passionate about something to actually make it happen. I got invited to show my art for the first time in Parkersburg 2.5 years ago, and I just thought, I'm like, wow, an actual gallery that's been around for 100 years old wants to show my art, and that kind of got me thinking, like, you know what, I can do my own shows. So if you have a dream, just go for it. Make it happen somehow.
So I love it. Parkersburg gave you a dream of showing your art, and just 2 days ago, you kicked off your most recent art show. Tell me about that.
Yeah, this is actually my 7th show already. I was kind of doing the math. My first show was about 2.5 years ago, and it's just a thrill to think that you can do something and people come out to it. Of course, my shows are community events, so therefore I have a lot of community support. I'm very fortunate that I have a restaurant where I know tons of people, and tons of people support what I do. But I have some great sponsors that help me put on these shows, and I think it's almost like giving back. You put on a show, you put on an event for people to come out to, and and then the community shows up. People that support me at the restaurant will support, like you. You go to the restaurant and you came to several of my shows, and
my daughter loves them. By the way.
Yeah.
My daughter loves. So obviously the show has already kicked off and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Are there other opportunities for potential listeners to go and visit the newest show?
Yeah. So my show will also run this following weekend, Friday and Saturday from 6 to 8. And every night of our show we have entertainment. Every night is sponsored by a local nonprofit. A local business, and it benefits a local nonprofit. So I try to use a lot of different angles to my shows. Of course, that helps, generate, the amount of people that show up. But in everything that I do, I also try to give back. So I'm fortunate that my sponsors get to help me put on these shows, and then half of what we do at the door goes back to a sponsor of their choice.
I love it.
I'm sorry,
So,
a
ladies and
nonprofit of their choice.
So, ladies and gentlemen, just to be clear, you still have the opportunity to go see the show on December 12th and 13th.
Exactly. Yeah.
Where is the show at?
So the show is at the Graham Building in downtown Beckley. My friend Matt Bickey owns the building. He lets me use it. It's a fantastic building for a show. We actually hang about 400 pieces of art. So my shows are pretty extensive. There's always 50 of my pieces from my collection, and then I have usually between 12 and 16 local artists that show their work and sell their work. So along with the historical angle, to educate people on my collection, the pieces that I acquired, I love to tell stories. I love to walk around and tell people stories and make connections and groupings of art. But we also get to help local artists from the area, from Charleston, from Clarksburg, Princeton, Bluefield, show their art as well.
So, many people think, well, that's something someone else does or whatever. And so many of our listeners, or some of our listeners, may have never been to an art show.
Mm-hmm.
What does one expect when they pull up in downtown Beckley on Neville Street at the particular location that you can find on our website and everything? What should they expect from the time they walk in the door?
You know what? I've had a couple people say I've never been to an art show and they've really enjoyed their time. I think art and art shows have this connotation of kind of being stuffy and, like you mentioned earlier, unattainable. But the shows that I put on, with the entertainment, with the community, aspect to it, people have a great time. We have food, we have music, and just the space is wonderful for conversation. You walk into one room and you're surrounded by an artist's work, and then you walk into another room and it's totally different. And then you walk down the hall and you see my art. But I've had people that come up and say it's more of an event than an art show, and they stick around for almost the whole show. So it's a community event with art, music, and then just a lot of different people from the area.
And so after giving people that exposure, and this is your 7th show, or what do you want people to walk away with when they come from one of your shows?
That cool things happen in our area. I think that a lot of people are grateful that I put these shows on because a lot of people complain there's not a lot to do. You know, I'm fortunate that I get to do it in December where there's not a whole lot outdoors. So, you know, come in, you know, get out of the cold, see a great show. But I think people appreciate the effort. I think whenever I walk around and talk about certain groupings of art or certain portraits or landscapes or this was from 1930, 1940, look at this old car. You can tell it's, you know, this piece was done in 1920. I think people appreciate the effort, and I think they can see the passion that I have for my art and for the arts in community involvement.
Yeah, and I can tell you personally, at the last show, my daughter and I was there, and my daughter is 7 years old. And, you know, everybody knows it's hard to keep a 7-year-old's attention if it doesn't involve YouTube or an iPad or something like that. And I remember we were some of the first ones there, and you took her under your arm and walked her around, and she was so engaged with the art. And I could see on your face, too, the kind of spirit that you had in terms of you knew that you were going to expose the next generation. So, ladies and gentlemen, again in studio with us, Jose Rizzo. Some of you know him as the owner of El Mariachi, but also you need to know him as one of the best curators in Southern West Virginia. We're going to take a short break, so stick with News Talk WWNR as we close out this edition of Our Communiversity Today.
Bank with purpose and Golden Bear pride. At Pendleton Community Bank, our WVU Tech Affinity debit card does more than make purchases. It makes a difference. Every swipe supports the William Bill Benn Student Success Fund, helping WVU Tech students facing financial hardships stay on track to achieve their dreams. Show your school spirit and help shape the future, one transaction at a time. Visit yourbank.bank to get started today. Pendleton Community Bank, here for students, here for community, here for you. Member FDIC, an equal housing lender.
Discover WVU Tech right in your backyard. With 6 ABET accredited engineering programs ranked among the top 100 for engineering and nursing nationwide, WVU Tech offers the best return on investment in West Virginia. Our small, supportive campus is home to high-demand programs in fields like hospitality and culinary, chemical forensics, and the only 4-year construction management degree in West Virginia. Learn more about all the exciting things happening at Tech at wvutech.edu today.
We'll make you a brand new website. We'll make you an awesome website. We'll make you a better website and update it all year.
Cucumber and Company can make you a great website that we maintain, update, and host, all for just one low fee. Contact us today to find out why we're Santa's official website company. 304-250-0123. Online at cucumberandcompany.com.
We make really awesome websites, so call us today.
Welcome back to Our Communiversity Today. I want to thank our guest, Jose Rizzo, who's the owner of El Mariachi Mexican restaurant here in town, but also someone who has an eye for art. And ladies and gentlemen, this is one of the shows that has really touched me because Jose talked about his journey from being an immigrant where his father came over and was willing to do jobs like pick strawberries to be able to provide for his family. And through that hard work and dedication, not only was Jose's father able to provide for the family, he was able to lay a foundation upon which Jose could build upon. A foundation that many of us go and enjoy the wonderful Mexican food that is prepared and the outreach that Jose does, even sponsoring dinner for our Tech Golden Bear soccer team who's in the national title game. But most importantly, it gave him an opportunity to dream. And when you have the ability to dream, you have the ability to achieve. And so through that dreaming, Jose was able to start to curate art, to develop it. But most importantly, Jose, in the true spirit of giving, has given back, is giving back. Not only has he done 7 shows before, we have the opportunity to embrace his most current show of art right here in downtown Beckley. So I encourage you to visit WWNRradio.com for additional information about Jose Rizzo and his art show and how you can help build Our Communiversity Today for a brighter Southern West Virginia tomorrow.
You've been listening to Our Communiversity Today, sponsored by Pendleton Community Bank and Cucumber and Company. a production of West Virginia University Institute of Technology and Communiversity partner, Southern Communications in Beckley. For more on this program and contact information, visit our website at wwnrradio.com.